In this episode of Pop Culture Weekly, it's all about the brand new horror film, The Monkey. I talk with Theo James, director-writer Osgood Perkins, and star Theo James and Rohan Campbell, and writer-director Osgood Perkins. Let's go!
Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Net. Hello and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and I thank you, as always, for joining me once again for another episode of Pop Culture Weekly. I'm really excited about this episode because we are diving in to one of the most anticipated horror films of the year, if not my most anticipated, The Monkey. I talk with the stars, Rohan Campbell and Theo James, as well as Osgood Perkins, who is the writer-director. So The Monkey, if you don't know yet, is based on Stephen King's chilling short story. It's a new adaptation, and people are already talking about, how creepy the trailers are. But we're going to talk about the film, we're going to talk to the stars, and it's all about The Monkey. So, all right. So if you love Stephen King's work, creepy cursed objects, or psychological horror, you're in for a treat this episode, or maybe a nightmare. The Monkey was originally published in 1980 as a short story in Gallery magazine. Eventually, Stephen King put it in his 1985 short story collection called Skeleton Crew. And let me tell you, if you've read the short story, this is one of those stories that just lingers in your mind long after you finish it. It's very creepy. So what's the premise, right? It's simple. It follows two brothers, Hal and Bill, who discover this old wind-up cymbal-clapping monkey in their parents' attic. You would think that's cute, right? But this is Stephen King, so you'd be wrong. Every time the monkey claps its cymbals, somebody dies. And we're not just talking about natural causes, like a heart attack or something. It's like gruesome, often unexplained events, deaths. And then years later, they had thought that they'd rid themselves of it. But guess what? Hal finds it again, and the deaths start up once more. So the short story itself is classic Stephen King, psychological terror, supernatural dread, and the monkey taps into that primal fear that we all have, right? That something as innocent as a toy can become this horrible instrument of death. So now, all these years later, that was, 85? So 40 years later, I'm bad at math. I think 40 years later, you can fact check me. But we have The Monkey hitting theaters. So it's directed by Osgood Perkins, who I love. He is the mind behind Gretel and Hansel, which is seriously underrated. If you're a horror fan or just want a creepy movie, Gretel and Hansel is it. And he also is behind I Am the Pretty Things That Lives in the House, which is a Netflix original horror, really great. And it's produced by James Wan and Jason Blum, who I freaking love both of them. So you're in for some top-tier scary stuff. The Monkey, the movie, is a little bit different in that instead of the cymbals that the monkey plays, it's the drums, because there was a copyright issue. Apparently, Disney owns the trademark or copyright for a monkey playing cymbals on film. So instead, Osgood turned it around and the monkey plays on a drum, which is maybe even creepier because it's almost this like tribal beat, it's really effective. The film itself, which you can see my review up on TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, my video review, but to give you my take here, The Monkey, the film, is insanely outrageous in a good way. It is actually really darkly funny. Like, I was not expecting it to be funny. I don't know what I thought going in, but it is funny. It is darkly funny, and at some points I'm like, am I a sicko for even laughing at this? But that's kind of the point, right? I mean, it's all outrageous and insane, and it's an awesome movie. I love Osgood Perkins. Longlegs, he did Longlegs last year, which was one of my favorites of last year. It just puts you in that creepy space. Like, it's just uncomfortable, unsettling, and Longlegs was just executed amazingly, and Nicolas Cage was a freaking freak show in that movie. But as I mentioned earlier, he also did Gretel and Hansel, I Am the Pretty Things That Live in the House. He's had a great career thus far, and this, is right along those lines, except it's not. A lot of his other movies are a little bit more subtle and maybe, a little slow burning. This is, I would say this is not slow burning in that kind of traditional Osgood Perkins way. It's more in your face, out there, hits you right in the head in some points, or hits some people right in the head, if you get what I mean. But it is awesome. I absolutely loved it. People in the theaters were laughing. They were screaming at the appropriate parts. It's just an awesome, awesome movie. And it was my most looked forward to. It was the movie I was most looking forward to this year, the horror movie. And I was not disappointed by any stretch of the imagination. It is awesome. So if you have the chance, go see it in theaters, because seeing it on that big screen with the incredible audio mix and the soundtrack, it's just all done so well that go see it in the theater. It's definitely worth your watch. So we're going to kick things off on the interview side with Rohan Campbell, my buddy. I love Rohan. Rohan's an actor who has been making waves in both television and film. He's got this screen presence that's just, I love him. I love his work. He recently starred as Corey Cunningham in Halloween Ends, which was awesome, and I loved his role in that. It was very much... not a red herring. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Very much I don't know. Let me know. You let me know what I mean. But it was very much a cool character in Halloween Ends, and kind of did a lot for that trilogy of films. Turned it on its head a little bit that I wasn't expecting. So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed him in that. And Rohan has been just steadily building an awesome career across various genres. But I interviewed him originally for the Hardy Boys on Hulu, so I'll have that interview linked in the show notes if you want to go back and hear me speak with him on that. But he played Frank Hardy in Hulu's modern adaptation of that classic detective series, and he was very charming and intelligent and just had some cool, fresh energy for the series. I already talked about that he was in Halloween Ends, and he was that character was very... started a lot of discussion among horror fans, and especially, obviously, Halloween fans, which I think is awesome for Rohan that, he got to do that. And also for you Sabrina Carpenter fans, he played her beloved boyfriend in her music video for Taste, which is cool. So, all right, without further ado, let's talk with the Rohan Campbell. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So great to see you again.
You too, man. You too.
I'm happy, I'm so happy to see you in The Monkey. I mean, first of all, The Monkey was incredible. I told you that. Why was this something that you wanted to do?
Oh man, a never-ending list of reasons. Stephen King's one of my favorites. What a niche outlook on the world. What a poet of nightmares. Also, the script just blew my mind. Like, it was so perfectly funny and scary and ridiculous. And again, what an insane outlook in the world. and I just thought I gotta do this. And then I just fell in love with the character. Like it's such a good opportunity to sort of disappear into something.
Yeah, quite literally, actually. You so what that was that your hair or what? Was that a wig? What was going on?
We wigged me out. Yeah, we threw a wig on me. And I remember when I first put it on, me and Oz just cracked up. Like it was just so funny. And we were like, we gotta do this. It's so ridiculous. Uh, and then there's that moment where you meet my mom and she's got the same haircut, and it's
Yeah.
just good. It's so ridiculous.
That's one of the things that, I love about I mean, first of all, it is terrifying. Even the concept of the film is kind of terrifying. And then it is so over the top, but in an awesome way. You know what I'm saying? Like it's done so well. It's ridiculous in the best way possible. And what I mean by that is it does it purposefully and with intention, and that kind of balances out the kind of terrifyingness of the terrifyingness or whatever of what's happening in the
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
And it's such a masterful full balance between I was so pleasantly surprised at how funny it is. It's so darkly humorous, and it just strikes such a great balance between, all of the things, and I love that about it.
Yeah, he just dialed it in. He's got such a control on that tone and those levels.
Yeah. Yeah, and so as you're doing this, you've done, the Halloween franchise, is another one of my favorites. As you're doing kind of these projects that have this, storied history and fan base, and Stephen King, short story from Stephen King, like this is some big, heavy hitting stuff in the pop culture world. Are you able to separate that as you go to film, or is that kind of in the back of your mind, like? Oh shit, this is,
No, I think you're always sort of shitting yourself. I think it's just like, what are you going to let somebody else do it?
mm, mm, I
You
love
know,
that.
it's like, why not? It means the world to me, this stuff. It's something that, I grew up reading and I grew up in it. I love horror films and I'm such a fan. It was like, I feel well equipped to go in and try and write a little love letter to this man's mind. And that's how this movie feels to me. It's like I just like as I was prepping the character, I was like, I just want to make Stephen King see his nightmares in front of him in that humor that he's got.
That's so dope. I think I'm the type of person I'd be like, oh my God, like I think I would feel so much pressure where it's actually a really cool and refreshing, point of view to be like, yeah, I should be able to do it. You know what I mean? Who
Yeah,
who who can do it better? I'm gonna
yeah,
do it and make them
yeah,
proud. I
yeah,
love
exactly.
that.
Yeah, and I mean it's not even like so much who can do it better. It's just like might as well give it a shot. If someone's
Yeah.
asking me to do it, I'm gonna try so hard. So yeah.
What do you, as a fan of horror, I'm a huge horror fan. I know you're a huge horror fan. But as a fan of horror, what do you think people will get out of this once it hits theaters?
Man, this is a hard question. There's so much you can get out of this movie, and Oz does such a good job of tying up the thought, but sort of the unexpectedness and cruelty and unfairness of death personified in this toy monkey that's controlling it. And that urge to sort of fight it and find your way out of it. It's an amazing message, but also I just want to just a good fucking time at the movies, man. I just want people to go have a good time at the movies. That's what I want.
I love that. I think that they will. I know I enjoyed it so much. I had to check with, publicity to make sure. I'm like, am I allowed to talk about this yet? Because I need to talk about this.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, just no spoilers. So now I'm like, shouting from the rooftops, you got to see it February 21st, February 20, I'm like, so this monkey comes in your life.
Yeah.
How would you handle it?
Hmm. Similarly, I think this is a crazy sentence. It's such an insane plot and topic that unravels so logically. And I think that's you can empathize with what the characters do in this situation. But who knows? Maybe the monkey is in all of our lives.
Mm. Thanks, Rohan. Now I'm going to be like searching my attic to make sure.
Yeah, check your attic, man.
My brother, thank you so much. You're a joy to watch. You're a joy to talk to. And I can't wait for everybody to see the monkey. You're the man, buddy.
Thank you, dude. It's so good to see you, Kyle.
You as well. Talk soon.
All right, man. Enjoy the day.
You too. Rohan Campbell, such a great guy. I really do love him. Love his work. And he's just an awesome person, you know. Besides being an awesome artist, he's an awesome person, too. So love Rohan. Can't wait to see what he does next. Can't wait for you to see him in The Monkey. All right, we're going to take a quick break to pay the bills. When we come back, we're going to talk with Theo James and Osgood Perkins. See you back here in 60. All right. Thank you for hanging out with me and supporting our sponsors that allow me to bring Pop Culture Weekly to you each and every week. Without them, there wouldn't be a me, and then I wouldn't be with you, which sucks. So thank you. So we're rolling on with all things The Monkey this episode. And next up, I'm talking with Theo James and Osgood Perkins. So I've talked a little bit about both of them before, but just to give you a little bit more in depth, you know, really when it comes to horror, there are few directors who capture like eerie, unsettling atmospheres quite like Osgood Perkins. And when you pair that with the undeniable screen presence of Theo James, you've got a dynamic that is well worth your time. Osgood is kind of known for a slow-burning psychological approach to horror. It's very thoughtful in what he does, I think. He's also the son of Psycho star Anthony Perkins, by the way. So he grew up surrounded by the genre, and he's found his own unique space in modern horror today. He has done, as I talked about before, Gretel and Hansel, which is beautiful. It's visually stunning, and it's like a horror-inspired take on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale. Definitely reimagines it. He also did I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, which is a ghost story that has a lot to do with like dread and isolation. And that's what I mean when I say a lot of his work deals with these kind of bigger issues, whether subtly or unsubtly, I guess, unsubtly, whatever. The Black Coat's Daughter is this very atmospheric, very eerie, chilling horror film that blends psychological terror with supernatural stuff. Well worth your time as well. And then, of course, Longlegs that came out last year, which is one of my favorites of last year. And, oh my God, Longlegs is just insane. And Nicolas Cage is just an insane person in that role. So Osgood is all about, you know, kind of these slow-building, eerie, unsettling visuals and these stories that kind of linger, you know, after the movie's over. You're kind of thinking about them later. With The Monkey, he's taking on Stephen King's classic short story, and so it's really cool to see Oz do something that, you know, is based on somebody else's work. And Theo James is an actor who, you know, really kind of blew up with his role as Four in the Divergent movie franchise series. But since then, he's been kind of breaking out in all kinds of different genres, including Cameron Sullivan in The White Lotus Season 2, The Time Traveler's Wife, and The Gentleman. And he is amazing in this. He plays a dual role, and it's pretty insane, but he does a great job with it. So in any event, let's jump right into my interview with Osgood Perkins and Theo James. Thank you both so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man. Pleasure.
First of all, I love The Monkey. I had to ask publicity earlier. I was like, am I allowed to talk about it yet? And they were like, yeah, just no spoilers. So I've been like dying for everybody to see it because it's just so great. So congratulations to both of you on that. Oz, why did you end up choosing this project as your next project?
The project chose me, right? It was an assignment, and that makes it sound like homework, and it was really the opposite, right? It's this unbelievable golden ticket opportunity to work off of the great author, to sort of play in his sandbox and all that he's brought to the genre and to the world, and to just to entertainment in general, right? Stephen King has created so much viable, everlasting entertainment, whether it's horror stuff or it's Shawshank Redemption, like everything in between, right? Like, this is the guy. So to be able to sort of snuggle up to a master is a real privilege. And then on top of it, it comes with this image. It comes with this image of this toy monkey, which, for whatever reason, is uncanny to the human eye. Like, for whatever reason, anytime you see this thing, there's something off-putting about it. You kind of can't wrap your head around it. So, as a writer facing the blank page, it's nice to kind of have these big leg ups, Stephen King and this monkey's face.
I love that. And Theo, similarly, what attracted to you about the monkey? The film.
Well, Oz, I was very attracted to that monkey, I tell you. I mean, Ozboy here, I was a fan of his. I'd seen his work. We had worked together a little bit developing something in the past. I knew how good a writer and a director he was, and then that, coupled with a piece of iconic IP, iconic literature from Stephen King, and then the chance to play two very different characters in a horror comedy, and beneath it, there's some real meat to it. There's a real sadness, a melancholy about fathers and sons, and intergenerational trauma. As pretentious as it sounds to say that, but it's true. So as an actor, you had the fun of it on the page, but you also had some meat beneath it to gobble up.
I've got to say that as you were doing the narration, I was thinking in the theater, and I'm like, it's a cross between like a 1940s radio announcer and like a sex line operator. And I was like,
it's that sweet spot. It's just that it's like a really fine line.
Exactly. I was oddly horrified and intrigued all at the same time. So congratulations on that. And for you, Theo, when you're doing these kind of dual roles, and similarly, I'll ask you, Oz, but how do you approach that as an actor? It's got to be difficult, in my opinion, to kind of, you're playing two very different people in the same film. How do you approach that?
Well, I think from the get-go, Oz and I didn't want to just rely on mannerisms or specific kinks or something, little tics that maybe the characters have, because we thought that might cheapen it in a way. We wanted to make it simple, but make them, incredibly different. You feel as an actor, when you read a script, if you can play it or not. When I was in my youth, I would pretend that I could play anything, but in reality now I'm a bit older. You know the stuff you can play, and you know the stuff that you can't. And so you feel connected, and you understand bits of the character, and you empathize with bits of the character. Beyond that, you find little anchors. For example, in costume design, we were talking with a costume designer with Oz, and we were talking about the jacket. It seems like a small thing, but Oz was very keen on him having, originally it was going to be kind of a rain jacket. It didn't quite work for camera, but then what he said was an anchor for me. He wanted Hal to have a kind of shell, like a very thin shell, like a snail, that he always needed something to protect him from the dangers of the outside world. And that is an interesting anchor as an actor, which you can build from. And then with Bill, his brother, it was realizing that he was just a little scared boy, and that made me feel for him and kind of understand him. So you look for those little pointers to kind of drill into.
I love that. Thank you both so much. That's my time. I can't wait for everybody to see The Monkey. It is so enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Osgood Perkins and Theo James. I've got to say, I mean, you heard me say, I'm not normally like this, but Theo James, when I literally was listening to his kind of narration in The Monkey, it's like this weird mix between like this radio announcer from like the 40s or 50s or something and like a sex line operator. And I was oddly into it and horrified all at the same time. Weird. Now I have confusing feelings. Thank you, Theo. In any event, great actor, great director, writer with Osgood. I love The Monkey so much, and I think you will too if you're any kind of fan of horror or psychological drama or even, comedy. It would be a very, very dark comedy, but it is just an awesome horror movie. I will give you a little warning that it goes there, so, don't expect a lot to be left to your imagination. There's gore. And so if you're not into that, just be prepared to close your eyes a few times. I had to for a couple of parts that I was like, oh, my God. But it's great. The Monkey is awesome. It is out in theaters now, and I hope that you go and see The Monkey in theaters. What do you think? Let me know if you see it. I want to talk about it. You can see my review up on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. Let's discuss The Monkey. All right. I love you. See you next episode. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
The monkey is here. It's causing me fear. The monkey, he looks. The monkey, he watches me. The monkey is a scary one. Just don't let him beat his drum.